Now, ladies and gentlemen, cultural shock beyond the first 20 employees. We heard just from Hanno how important it is to recruit people and to really get the right people, the right talents. And we have an expert right now who can tell us more about it. The company Cliqz, as you heard before, grew from 0 to 120 employees over the last years. And while this ride is a great fun in a way, it is also, of course, very challenging to find the right people. The next speaker is, as he says about himself, a natural-born optimist. He wants to bend reality, which is interesting, and he is only true with bright-colored socks. Please welcome on stage from Cliqz, Marc Al-Hames. Marc, you're on the stage.
So? Ja, also dann schick's mir gerne nochmal.
This is actually a very good follow-up of what you've just heard now, because I'm talking about a similar topic. But there are three reasons why it is a good follow-up. I will look at the topic from a slightly different angle. Secondly, we are a bit further down the road in terms of employees. We grow from 5 to 132, so I can tell you what happens when you hit 100. And last but not least, actually, Hanno just hired someone from Cliqz away, and I can testify for him his recruiting process is really good, because we were pissed, seriously pissed. But fair enough. So Cliqz grew quite a bit, and if you don't like charts and rather pictures, growth like this looks pretty much like this. This is if you take your 5 employees out for a beer. Well, it's 5 plus 1 on the picture, but if you take your 5 employees out for a beer, that is very easy to do. If you want to take your 132 employees out for beer, which is basically status last year, it becomes a major operation. You cannot just say, well, let's just have a beer now. And while you grow, a lot happens in your company, and especially if you go beyond 20, things do change. And in fact, they're not only changing, it's quite shocking. And that's what I would like to talk about. What is the cultural shock if you go beyond the first 20 employees? My name is Marc Al-Hames. I'm the CEO of Cliqz. I joined the company when we've been 5 employees. And our founder has, I think, talked in the afternoon about founding itself. Cliqz itself, we are building a search engine in the browser. It's German-based here in Munich. We also own the anti-tracking tool Ghostery, which you might know. And our vision is to create a better internet where you don't have to make a trade-off between a fantastic product and your private data. So we don't store any data about you, and we also protect you from everyone else collecting your data. But this is not what this is about. Now, I was talking about the cultural shock, and in fact, this title was given to me, but I think it's wrong. It is not only a cultural shock, it is a shock if you go beyond 20 employees. And in fact, that's still not enough. The shock doesn't only happen when you hit 20 employees. It starts much earlier. Actually, when you go beyond your first employees, a lot of things happen. So I want to talk about that shock as well. And then when you believe once you've reached a stage where Personio, for example, right now is with 70 employees, things calm down. So I talk about the shock when you go beyond employees, but it doesn't calm down later. You'll actually, once you reach 100, it really gets a problem. And then in a growing company, you might feel at least that there have to be some quiet areas where you can relax. So I call this the top left corner, where everything is white and calm and it's zen-like and you relax from all the stress you have. Reality is no, there's also shocks. It's basically a constant shock. And so I just reformulated the talk. You will have a shock the moment you have your first employee. Now, that my degree of making a fool out of myself is unmatched in the world. I'm quite arrogant about that. I want to try something with you that I did last when we've been around 20 employees at Cliqz. But we haven't done it with a bigger audience, so I want to try whether it works with a better audience. Can you all get up for a second? So I just managed to make fools out of you as well, so that would be perfect. So when when we started and we wanted to motivate ourselves in the team meetings, we went out and you might want to turn down the microphone a bit. We went out and we shouted a big "Chaka!" And it kind of works to motivate and wake up if you're the last talk in the evening. So I want to try to get you all to do a Chaka with me. Come on, make a fool out of yourself with me together. Chaka! Come on, that is not like, you have to be so loud that on a workshop stage, they think we're doing something incredibly crazy here. Come on, let's do it again. Chaka! Come on, once more. Chaka! Thank you, now you can turn on the microphone. You can sit again. I hope we are all awake. If you feel I'm saying something incredibly insightful and smart, feel free to shout in a Chaka. If you feel I'm saying something incredibly stupid, just shout in a Chaka. That increases the chance that you actually can shout it out. So I want to start from the back. If you're growing a company, very often you have that dream of making a big company out of it. And a big company is on the org chart somewhat looking like this. It's very well ordered. You have a CEO, you have a board, and you have vice presidents, and everyone here might represent a massive organization with tens of thousands of people, if you're, for example, Microsoft. Now, obviously, when you start your business, you're very much alone. It's you. And then you sit together with maybe friends or the first people you want to hire, and you do a team meeting maybe with the first couple of people, and you write down what do you want to achieve. This is, in our case, it was December 2013, and we wrote down what do we want to technically achieve. There's a number that we actually still holding to, which I find interesting, that as a technology company we managed to have the same goal for 4 years. But you write this down. In our case, we also took the time to write down a lot of values that we felt we would need. And then you start adding people, hopefully. In our case, the first employee, I'm an engineer, so I count from zero. Our zeroth person that we added to the team was Diana. She was a content manager. We added Eleni, an engineer. We added Dragan, an engineer. And then you start building up your org chart. So you have an engineer, maybe your best friend. You have a marketing manager joining the team. You add junior engineers and very often a lot of interns because they're cheap and they work for food. And then something happens. It turns out your engineer is really a good engineer, but he's not a good manager. And in fact, he doesn't like managing. Oh no, sorry, I'll have the marketing guy first. You also hire a marketing rockstar. Unfortunately, that marketing rockstar doesn't report to your marketing manager. It's just not possible for a rockstar. And in fact, the marketing rockstar does not report to anyone. It's sort of the free radical being in your organization. And she does what she pleases, but hopefully she does it well. And then with your engineering friend, it turns out is not a good lead, so you hire an engineering lead, and actually your engineer knows that's the better choice. But then again, he was there before the engineering lead, so he'll going to continue to report to you, and the intern really likes your best friend better. So your engineering lead already has a small problem. And you basically continue until you have 20 employees, and your org chart looks somewhat like this. And trust me, even though you have the best HR process in the world, you'll always have someone where it's really unclear what that person is doing in your organization. Also, there is a second insight. If you look at the very left, finance, for some reason, is always well organized. I don't know how they do it, but it's always the perfect org chart. But everything else is just a mess. And in reality, if you take your org chart away, the reality is this until you hit 20 people. You might have an org chart, but no matter how much you turn your back, if people feel the decision was not right, if they really want to have an answer, they will be at your desk. In reality, when you have 20 employees, everyone reports to you. Now this works absolutely perfect for 20 persons. And this makes small companies incredibly fast and powerful because you basically have a very fast release mechanism of information. You just tell people what to do and they will do it. And there's no one in between. The problem is all hell breaks loose if you start adding more people to this because your one-on-ones alone will eat up all your time. And this is the shock that you will experience when you go beyond 18, and this is the shock you will definitely experience. We took very long until we realized this. you can go on, but a lot of things will go terribly wrong if you continue with an org chart like this. So what are a couple of things that you need to do if you go beyond 20? The first and most important insight, and if you only want to take one thing away from my talk today, is you need to communicate until you literally throw up. And this is because when you have 20 people, everyone has bought into what you want to build. Everyone has bought into what is your vision, where do you want to go. People work, they just know what to do. They know what other people are doing, because with 20 people you can actually go out for a beer with everyone on the team. If you go beyond 20 people, you'll have people who don't know what the left hand is doing. They have not been there from the start. They don't know where you want to go. So you have to explain again, and again, and again. And the moment where you feel now even the last one should have understood it, then repeat it as often as you've done before. Then you might have a chance that 75% of your organization have actually understood what you want. Number two is you start doing surveys, because if you go beyond 20 people, you will not have a gut feeling what's ongoing. So you have surveys and you ask people what they want. The problem is beyond 20 employees, statistics kicks in. So for every left answer, you'll get the right answer as well. You'll have people who feel you communicate too much, because they're incredibly smart and they actually read your email. And they feel cheated if you tell them the same thing on a Friday team meeting. You'll have other people who complain you're not communicating enough. You also have, if you go beyond 20, you will have lovers and haters for every product that you have. People will love Slack and they will hate Slack, and they will love GitHub and they will hate GitHub. Beyond 20 people, there is no chance you will make everyone happy with whatever decision you make. And obviously there's always someone who hates red paprika, even though it's free. It's still not clear to me why, but it does come up in every survey that we have free fruit and baskets, and there's red paprika, and someone I think doesn't like it. And then something else happens. If you we are 132 people, you do have to fire people from time to time. And it does change the dynamic. But in reality, what happens more often is this. This is the message you get if someone wants to quit. And funny enough, this was actually the line that Sebastian used when he changed to Personio. So this is literally his Slack message. And I was doing the work of anonymizing everything. I could have just posted it up. If you get the 5 minute, do you have 5 minutes? And you get this early in the morning, you actually don't have to take the meeting. You know what the meeting is about. Now, this feels very, very bad, because if you've built your company and you're used to the first 20 people, you're a sworn-in group, your friends, and someone leaving you feels like cheating. If you're 132 people, again, you'll hear me a lot talking about statistics, because we do a lot of statistics. Statistic will hit you. So on average, people stay in a startup 1.5 to 2 years. I think Facebook is 1 year, 6 months. Google is 1 year, 8 months. At 132 employees, if you take that turnover rate, it means basically 3 out of 4 weeks someone will quit in your team. And it's a very weird dynamic if every Friday in a team meeting, someone stands up and talks about leaving Cliqz. And it always feels like, do we do something wrong? Why do people leave? It's pure statistic, and you have to get used that people basically rotate to your company. And if you still have the same mindset of 20 people, it will hurt you and it will hurt the team. You'll have to get that into the team that it's normal. You also have to spend significant amount of time to recruit, and we've heard that earlier as well. We block 1 day per week just for recruiting, and you basically do this if you don't want to grow, if you just want to fill up your pipeline of 130 people and the people you lose. And one thing that happened to me is I'm sleeping significantly less well when we reached 30, 40 people. Now, our business nowadays is significantly less risky than it used to be 5 years ago. But 5 years ago, I knew literally everyone in the company. And I knew if we don't get the next round of financing, if we don't make the revenue, if we have to shut down, I can actually talk to the 15, 20 people in my team. And I actually have a job for everyone. It's like I have an address book and I know 20 people who would hire each one. I had this list in my mind, where do you start working tomorrow if we shut down the company? if you reach 40 or 50 people, even though we are a young company and nobody in our company would ever have a problem finding a job. In fact, they too easily find different jobs. I hate that. But is a difference between realizing, yes, they are all young and they will all find a job very easily, and the feeling there might be a moment where you stand in a Friday team meeting and tell 132 people, there's 66 or 70, we're engineers, so less than half have a significant other, but you tell 132 people, their kids and their wife, they've just lost their job and the salary might be, basically they get 1 more salary or 2 more salaries. It feels much more out of control than if you have just 20 employees. It's not a great feeling. And then you hit the magic 100, and Steve Jobs actually designed all the major things he wanted to do only with 100 people, because he said, I can't remember more names than 100. And I only want to work with people that I know. So he built all his teams always around 100 people, and for everyone that came on top, someone else had to go. There's good scientific reasons why 100 to 150 is a good size for a team, because you know everyone. But if you go beyond 100, you most definitely have to do something to organize. Again, if you've been in the phase where the team has been small and you treat everyone like it's your family, it's harder once you cross 100. There are people in the company that I don't know anymore. I know them, I've seen them, but I have trouble remembering what they do or what they are sitting in the office next door and I just see them maybe once a week or so. It's harder. So we've reached that point where you need to do something organizationally. Now, in contrast to Hanno, we hate organizational structure and we hate org charts and we avoid it and we will avoid it for long. We had a different answer to the problem. Our answer was Richard. Richard is our director of product and he is extremely complementary to JP, our founder, and my co-CEO and me. We are more free-flowing, I would call it. Richard is like the most structured man you can imagine in the world. He's basically MS Project in biology. He knows literally everything that is happening, whatever everyone is doing, and he sort of has these Gantt charts in his head, and he organizes everything. I usually say behind us, but it's not true, because he has our agenda on his mind as well. So usually where JP and I are going, he has been there and has prepared it, and usually people are already waiting and saying, yes, we've done that. That's very good, and it's probably my second recommendation you should take home today. Get someone into your team who's highly complementary to you. Just very different and not like you. If you're more aggressive and daring, like JP and I are, get someone who is organizing perfectly. You will fight with him every fucking day, and he will annoy you, and he's a pain in the ass. But he does the right thing and he actually saves your ass and the company. If you're a very structured person, you might want to consider getting someone who is a bit unstructured. Our second answer, Steffi, and I think she's actually sitting there. Chaka! Stephanie was employee number 6 or 7, best hire we ever did. She is sort of the counterpart to what Richard does. She has the sense of what's ongoing in the organization in terms of feelings and how to make sure that things work, because we are so reluctant against hierarchy and team structures and titles. But obviously, as if you have read Lord of the Flies, even if you don't have an explicit structure, you do have a structure, and you need someone to take care of this. And Steffi does it wonderful, and usually she knows when people quit long before I do, because someone she knows. And we have a couple of organizational things that we did. So this is our org chart in the office. We have a Lego board, and if you join Cliqz, you'll get a Lego figure. I'm Mr. Barnes from The Simpsons, the atomic nuclear guy, the old guy. I'm not sure why, but they gave that one to me. We don't decide it. It's Steffi's team deciding who gets what. By the way, the big one you see here, that's Richard. And we basically put up figures and you can see who is working in which office and on what, and people rotate around. And these are the persons on the beach on vacation. Secondly, I've talked about values. We did this early on. I was completely lying to you, like every sleazy salesman is in the beginning. We only set up the values when Steffi joined. I think it was day one that she said, we're going to do values now. We hated it. It was the single most important decision we could have ever done. These values, in one way or another, are still alive. We rework them over time, but if you come to our office, you'll find them everywhere. Actually, if you want to interview with us, you will get them sent, and you're going to have an interview only about values, which is very weird for engineers, because they don't like talking, and they most certainly don't like to talk about values. So this is basically the entrance. You see the values here. In the middle, this is our KPI screen. It's early in the morning. It's only 1.6 million, so it's early in the morning. But you see the values are very prominent. And in fact, this is 10 meters in front of this, where we have a picture of everyone working at Cliqz. You also see these 9 values in forms of cards, and if you feel someone in the team has really done something particularly well in line with our values, you fill it out and you put it in front of the picture, and every Friday we read them out. And once a year we rate the Cliqz star, the person who has really lived the values, and I think we send them to a 4-day vacation somewhere. We really try to have our values as the framework that drives us. We do spend a lot of time on onboarding. It's very important because, again, once you go beyond 20 employees, people really have no feeling what you're doing, and it's very hard for them to catch up to where you are right now. So you want to make sure they have a chance to actually jump on your ship. We force them, we call it the Cliqz University. It's a 2.5-week full-time course, and we force every new employee to go through this course. They hate it because you start your new job and you want to do something. You want to build a search engine. You're an engineer. You want to fire up your infrastructure and get done with the work. But we force them through these 2.5 weeks where they basically meet everyone in the company, every department, and they get a chance to basically know everything and try to put the DNA into them. And one thing we do that we feel is very important is when you're a small team, again, you sort of know everyone in your company, and you have sort of a good feeling what they are doing, and you feel whether they perform or not, whether you want to shift them to a different job or not. When you get bigger, you tend to delegate this. This is wrong. You still want to do this. We look at everyone every half year with all of our leadership team, and everyone gives a score from 0, which is total unperformance, to 5, which is like promote immediately and double salary. And that's the interesting thing, everyone in the leadership team rates everyone in the team. So everyone does 132 ratings right now. Now, you don't know everyone, and then you leave the field out. If you have a candidate in your company that only is rated by 1 leader, you already know there's a problem with exposure, so you want to make sure that person has more exposure. It's not necessarily bad if you just 1 month with the company, how should you have had the exposure? And then we take a full afternoon and we discuss every candidate, and we discuss what should we do with that person to still have a feeling for the organization. And this is particularly important because people are different. And if you look at our first couple of people that we hired, and you remember them, they are all superstars within Cliqz, but they took completely different roles. So Diana now is a team lead in our fast search, so it's the news part. She has engineers, she has product managers, she has UX working for her on the news team. Eleni on the very right is now a director of engineering, which is the highest director we have actually, and she's extremely well in it and developed from being a very strong engineer to become a very strong engineering manager. And then you have Dragan in the middle, who is exactly the same that he used to be 5 years ago. He's an extremely strong engineer, and he literally built the search by himself. Now, if you would say, damn, these 3 are all great, I give them all the same title, Dragan definitely needs to be a director of engineering, he would start at Personio the very next day because he doesn't want to manage people. Then you have to have an eye on everyone in the company, and you have to treat them individually on how you develop them. So I've summarized all this in my 10 rules of maybe success. So let's get that off the table, and the third thing you should really take away today. No matter what people on stage or successful people will tell you, you will totally screw it up. There's no way no matter how much experience you have, that you're not losing good people, that you're not doing it wrong, that you're not looking back and say, holy fuck, if only I would have done that differently. There is a relief in here. You don't have to get it perfect. It will still work. Don't measure yourself on making everyone happy. It's impossible. I think it's possible if you're 5, 6, 7 people. If you go beyond 20, people will just hate red paprika. And you might stop ordering red paprika, but then other people are angry because they might just like it. You cannot make it. It's not your job as a CEO to make people in your company happy. It's their own job. And some people don't want to be happy. And that's okay. They can still be great. You should try very, very hard. I'm not saying that you should take this lightheaded. You should work very hard to create a great company. But you cannot say yes to everything that everyone wants. Because at 132 employees, people will hate red paprika and they will love red paprika. You definitely need a framework. Whatever your framework is, it could be a vision, it could be a mission. In the case of Cliqz, it's our values. Everything changes in Cliqz monthly. We are at the 7th version of our search backend. It's completely different than it used to be. You need something to hold on to. You need something that calibrates your decision, because you'll have to make constant decisions. And you need something where you can orient yourself. And it really doesn't matter what you take as a framework, but you need a very strong belief system. It could be your vision. And in our case, it's the values. Now, even if your framework is not values, take the time, hire someone like Steffi. Don't hire Steffi. Hire someone like Steffi. And set up and work on your values. Actually, if you're thinking about starting a company, do the values first. If you have a company and you don't have values, do it now. It's really, really important. And then to the hiring. When you start hiring people, especially when you grow fast, there is a tendency to hire people who fulfill the job. When you have this urgent need to just fill a skill that is missing, don't. Prioritize your values and the passion of the people, because it turns out in a startup, the skills you need to change constantly, and you might end up having someone who has great skills in Go, but you've just redesigned your backend to Python. So what do? You want someone who believes in what you do and who has the passion to go the way. You can develop everything else. Be extremely prudent on your first 20 employees. Every mistake you make on your first 20 employees, especially on values and passion and belief in what you do, will totally scale up. Because even though, and we still try that, one of the CEOs, so JP or me, is in every job interview, like you've seen at Personio. Even though you do this, the actual recruiting is done by your people. And they will fill the pipeline of people coming in. And you want to make sure they hire people that buy into your vision and your values as well. So you need to be super careful that the first 20 people you have basically embody your idea of what the company should be. Because people hire people that are similar to yourself. It's just a natural bias you have. So if your first 20 people, if you trust them completely, things will go well. And this is one of the most underrated topics in startup and entrepreneur and company life. People usually don't fire enough. You should fire people that are not passionate and don't live up to your values, or simply don't get the job done. You need to fire them extremely fast. It's not something you're proud of. It's not something where over a beer in the evening you will brag around. Actually, you will, if you're somewhat like me, you will not tell your wife about it because you're ashamed. You have this picture of, you read it in newspapers, this printed things for the younger people. You read that some big company fires 10,000 people and you think asshole. And you start realizing I'm an asshole myself. Now, delaying that decision to fire people, even though you know they are not great, is really hurting the company. And it's hurting the strong people in your company, because they will look and wonder, what is that person on the org chart where no one knows what he or she is doing? What's that person still doing in the company, and why is he or she paid? You need to fire fast. That doesn't mean you'll have to be an asshole, and you most definitely don't do it publicly. You can be financially very graceful, especially if you're a weak person and you feel, oh, if I fire, then this and that happens, so I'd rather keep them on the payroll. Why don't you give them the money to go? That's totally fine. And then it doesn't need to be a public hanging of the person. At Cliqz, I would actually guess no one from the outside really knows who had to go and who wanted to go. You can make this very dignity. It's not a fun thing. It's never fun. I actually screwed up when I fired my first person. I actually did. It's not fun, but you need to do it to keep the company healthy. If someone has the passion and lives up to your values, but has not the right skills, talk to them and develop them. If someone believes in what you do, it's very easy to develop them into a different role. We don't believe in formalizing anything. We love ambiguity. My founder JP and I, as co-CEOs, we are the perfect example of this. And the only time we actually discuss who does what is when we have to fill it out for the 100th Blatt register. For some weird reason in Germany, you have to put topics below, and then we usually take a dice and we just shift topics. If you have very strong people in the company, you don't need to tell them what they are or what they need to do. They will just find the work that needs to be done. Usually weaker people need a framework and need to be formalized. Treat everyone individually. Dragan is not Diana and Diana is not Eleni. They are all extremely strong, but treat them like individuals they are. And the most important rule, and that's, I just shift the complete area and move this rule into number 0. That's the most important one you should take away. Don't trust me at all on this. This worked only once, and it only worked for Cliqz, and we're not sure we survived. So it's actually not even sure for the one example that I have that it actually works. People usually standing on stages will tell you if you do these 5 things, everything will be great. There's a huge portion of luck beyond it. You need to adapt to what you do, what your style is, and you need to find your way of doing it. Don't just copy something. And last not least, enjoy it. Every big company wants to be a startup, and every startup wants to be a big company. And sometimes we tend to forget to enjoy while it lasts. Working with 5 people is so much fun and is so great because everyone knows exactly what you want. Working with 20 people is the first time you see actually scale effects happening and people working together like a machine. Working with 100 people is like you drive a huge wheel and you wouldn't believe of what can be done within one day. And I assume working with 10,000 people must be quite amazing as well, and I'll tell you in 2 years. But I'm just saying, don't always look at the North Star of what you want to be. Just enjoy that moment that you have. My name is Marc from Cliqz. Thanks a lot.
Marc, thank you very much. We have short time for 2 questions, if this is okay for you.
Absolutely. And the first one has to be, can we do Chaka again? Yes, of course. I'm glad you asked. Come on, let's do it again.
Chaka!
Chaka! Come on, louder. Chaka! Excellent.
Yeah. And we get hungry because the hot dogs are going to be grilled outside. Grilled paprikas are on the grill. Red paprikas. Now, okay, Marc. Question for you from the audience, please. And Florian brings the microphone. Just 2 or 3 quick questions, because then we go into the break. Thank you very much. Was this a race? No, it was just setting the hair. Great, excellent. Oh yeah, okay, gentleman here.
Thank you very much. When you go from the from 5 to 10 people, like the first employees, and you said that's the most critical ones, how do I recruit them? How do I hire them? And when do I decide whether I should fire them?
So let's start with when do you decide to fire them, because that's easier. You usually know very, very fast. You will pretend not to realize, but you will know very fast, because they don't get the job. They are not willing to really shift to your idea. They're not what they promise to be, no matter how hard you vetted them. You will know. Your bigger problem is to make the decision, not to knowing it. Hiring is a problem, especially in the tech space. If you're young and you're basically founding out of university, you have to try to find people that studied with you. If you're a bit older, like I am, and I joined when Cliqz already had 5 people, you have a network and you basically call everyone you've worked with and try to get them. And then obviously, if you don't have that network, you have to go to conferences, you have to talk to people. It will consume a lot of your time to find these people. You can obviously do Stepstone and all this, and you probably have to. But it will be you trying to get the people, and it's also not them applying at you, you're applying at them to join you. But by the way, it still is at 130 people. I mean, it's not like someone from Google just knocks on our door and says, I've heard Cliqz is also a great search company, let me switch job and take half the salary. It's, you knock on their door.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? I think people are really...
What happened to the rockstar?
Oh, the marketing rockstar?
We never had one. Oh, sorry, no. Actually, we had one. Personio just hired it away.
Oh, okay.
No, we have good marketing people, but we have very good marketing people. The example is you will end up having people who don't report to anyone. In engineering, this happens very often, and you'll have to ask the question of how much value do these people bring versus how much harm do they do. And you probably listen carefully that you fire these people extremely fast. No matter how great they are. It's just, you cannot have these free radicals in your company.
Thank you very much. I learned one thing, that engineers count from 0.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Marc Alhames, for this speech, for the last speech of the conference. Take a little break. Thank you, Marc.